just practiced a lot of like active listening. He would ask him, now tell me if I'm wrong, but is this how you feel? And then he'd be like, yeah. And then like, so he would take what they were saying and help them kind of understand how they were feeling from an event. And I just thought, and they'd be like, yeah, that is how I'm feeling. So, those were some things that I saw. He just kind of helped them draw closer together. Um, he, helped them talk about their feelings. He used language. He got on their level. He really connected with them, and he related to them a lot. When they would say things like something about the mom said, like, yeah, it's hard when, he's graduated or something, and he goes, oh, I can totally relate. My youngest just graduated, and it's hard and scary, and he helped the teens understand that. So, which in that was talked about in the reading. He also did a good job of giving them positive affirmations, like, thank you for coming in here. That's great that you guys are here. Not all families will do that. So yeah, there were a lot of points from the reading that I picked up on, but those were kind of like the biggest overall points. So.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. Welcome, Elna. I'm glad you can join us.
Thank you. Thanks for helping.
Yeah. And Brittany, while you were speaking, I'm sorry, I forgot to push start broadcast. So we got like 13 minutes in.
Okay.
I think we'll be okay. Okay. Well, would anybody else like to go next with their points? Or
I kind of just want to add to what Brittany said, because I definitely noticed a lot of those points. Something that I also noticed, like she was saying that that he definitely tried to like relate to them really well on a personal level. I really enjoyed that he got to know them first. I feel like a lot of the time, I personally will start talking to somebody and just like, if they ask me for advice, I'll just jump right into it and give it to them. But he really took the time at the beginning to understand, where they came from, if they've always lived in Rexburg, what they like to do, what their hobbies are. He tried to get to know the teenagers well and keep relating to them, so then he could have that personal experience with them. And so it wasn't so impersonal. And then I also noticed that he kind of helped them recognize how they were feeling. A lot of the times, like Brittany said, he would say, is this how you're feeling based off of what you said? And I don't think they really understood that was their feeling until he helped put it into words, until he verbalized it. And so he really helped them recognize their feelings, which I thought was cool. And then he gave them suggestions on ways to help each other understand their feelings. Like he gave each relationship a way to bond and to like he asked the parents to go on a date. He asked the father and son relationship to do something. And then he also had the sibling relationship do something in this week to help build those relationships and understand each other better. And so those were really key points for me that I noticed that I thought were important that he did. So.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like when I first started, I had kind of a negative feeling, I guess, when I started the assignments thinking, what? We have to do all this? Okay. And so when I started the video, I was like, oh, it's going to be kind of a corny thing to watch. And but I thought, like, as it went on and as I continued with the reading too, I thought this is very interesting, very informative, very powerful, the strength of communication. And yeah, I noticed that too, like Becca and Brittany pointed out that he got on, he had a genuine interest in each of them. He asked him about his skateboarding and even like his special moves. And then later on, he came back to that. He kept like showing that he really was interested in the boy. And yeah, it takes courage for a family to go to counseling. My husband has a lot of opportunities to, like, both in his profession and in his calling, he gets to do a lot of counseling. And he often will say, I think every family, every person would benefit from counseling because it's just so healing and healthy and encouraging to just be able to share your feelings and just understand each other. Because it was obvious that family, like individually, they didn't understand each other, and a lot of revelations were brought to light because just from talking and having that guided discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have another point actually that I forgot that I wanted to mention. Another thing that he did that was definitely a point in the reading was because in the reading it talks about like normalizing their family distress, and how that can help them feel like as a commonality with other families who are going through similar things. And he kind of talked about, you know, how the mom and the daughter, they talk about things when they're frustrated, they verbalize it all, and the son and the father, they shut down. And how he helped them realize like, oh my gosh, you guys are acting like your gender, like this is, you're being men and women. And so he like helped them feel like, okay, this is okay that we're acting this way. We need to work on how to like verbalize and how to like express our feelings, but that it wasn't this awful, terrible thing, that they were kind of acting the way that's expected in this type of stressful situation. So I thought that was good that he did that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is a great point. Okay.
Oh, thanks. I can go next. So when I first read the chapter, I actually kind of had a hard time picking out the principles and really understanding what they were. But then when I watched the video, it just made so much more sense because you could see him distinctly set up a timeline with the family where they had moved and the father had a new job that had him spending more time away from the home. And he really established that timeline. And then he went into tracking what the stressors were and empathizing with them so he could develop that connection with them. And he helped them clarify what their feelings were and make meaning of those feelings. And so as he went through each one of these, it really made it stand out to me. And it's like, oh yeah, that's what that principle is. And that's how you can apply that one. So just seeing it in action really helped me understand the process a lot more. I liked how he kind of built up to a climax with pulling out the stressors and their feelings and emotions. And then he made a transition into helping them think of things that they could do to solve their problems and aims that they could work towards. And so you could see this real transition point between finding out what the problem is and then working towards a solution together. So I liked that part a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I liked how you pointed out how watching the video helped bring the text to light. Because I had started reading it first, and then as I got through, I was like, oh, I need to watch the video too. And that really helped to bring, like, to have the text and what it was trying to teach and the information jump out and be relevant. Okay. Let me see. Does anybody have any questions or anything to add before I go through my points?
Can I add some stuff that I read? Just from the reading, something that really impressed me was how Mr. Walsh, or whoever the therapist was, how he had so many different opportunities to counsel with people who had issues, and how they talked about the timeline, kind of like what Elma had mentioned. How you can't just jump into something and try to solve the problem right away. You have to figure out what the stressors were from the past that ultimately led to the crisis. And like the example he gave of the husband and wife who had, he had been abusing her, and they went to the two different organizations, and both of them were encouraging them to get a divorce. And then as soon as they went to him, he really sat down with them, just like it seems like did, and got to know what was going on. And each and every one of them's clarifying the family's viewpoint of what was going on. So I know, like, I once went to a family marriage therapy class here for my stake, and I was really impressed because the family therapist, she had a couple sit in the middle of the room, and she had them discuss an issue that they were having. Difficult for them to express their feelings. Like, she just kept she just sat back and she kept asking them, okay, and how does that make you feel? Like, that sounds so cliche, but she was doing that because they would express something, but then they get off track, and then she'd bring them back. but you didn't answer the question. And so little by little, they finally got it out, and eventually being aware of the situation helped them find closure. So I was just really impressed with how just sitting back and letting people talk can really solve problems that you didn't think were there in the first place.
Thank you. As I was doing this assignment and I don't know, just thinking about life, I think how it's so unfortunate that people once they go to counseling or marriage counseling or family counseling, whatever, it's really not until they're like at a breaking point, like we're ready for divorce or like kick this kid out or whatever. It's like really at a climax of their problems. And just a reminder of how important family counsels are, and just constant communication with your spouse, and just keeping a dialogue with your family, and not letting it get to that point where, I mean, not that there's anything, and that's probably why there is a stigmatism with going to see a counselor, because, oh, what's wrong with your family? Like, you're having to go to this counselor, and it shouldn't be that way. Like, it's okay to get help and want to strengthen your family.
One thing that Emma said that kind of also helped me point out, you talked about kind of the step by step. He did kind of help took them step by step through. It wasn't like a rush. It was kind of like step by step figuring out, and then step by step, even in the solutions that he suggested. Those are pretty baby steps. And I love in the reading the saying, yard by yard, it's just too hard. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. I wrote that down.
I like that too.
That applies to so many aspects. And I hadn't really picked up on that till Emma brought up stuff. And then I have my notes here. And I was like, yeah, he definitely did do that. I mean, he started real slow and just took it step by inch. And yeah, I was really touched by the video, and I agree with all of you. Like, it helped me understand the readings a lot more, and I was like, oh yeah, he did that. And we never really have time to really memorize. I mean, like, even now as you guys are saying things, like, I'm picking out a lot more from the readings, and because I read it before and then did it, but you have to go like so fast. But another thing that really touched me to kind of from what Emma was saying was just so sad how, like, the son, how he really helped them see, and it just made me think of things in my own life and parenting, that, the son was leaving because he didn't feel loved and accepted yet. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I can't remember exactly the thoughts that I had when I was watching the video, but it touched me, just like as parents, how we do have to be careful I think as parents, especially moms, you love your kids so much, you want the right things for them, but sometimes you can push them away. And like, he just helped me, like, to read. I felt like he helped them be able to read each other a little bit more and to pay attention. Okay, this is happening, but why is this happening? And there might be an underlying, there is usually an underlying issue. But do you guys remember the part that I'm talking about? Where he's like, did he was feeling unloved or unaccepted? And they're like, no, I didn't. That part was pretty eye-opening to me.
Well, and it also contrasted with the mom's feelings because he didn't understand the way she was feeling either, that she was doing that out of concern for him. And so it really brought out that they were both kind of feeling the same thing, but neither of them saw that in each other or really understood it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty, I don't know, a big point where it wasn't that hard, like how the therapist really helped them get there, but it wasn't like this big, I don't know how to explain it. Like, yeah, it was just kind of cool to me. Yeah. Like, they did a lot of the work, but he led them. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and he used their own vocabulary. He didn't use like technical, professional terms that they wouldn't understand. It was on their level to communicate and understand. Something else that I'm just going through my notes was seizing opportunities in the midst of crisis, and I related that to when he like as the family was talking, well, I feel angry when like, and he'd like jump right, like he wouldn't cut them off necessarily, but like before they finished that point, like, oh, so right here, sorry to interrupt you, but like you're saying this about like you feel this way because of this, and they're like, yeah. It wasn't like, yeah, but it was like, oh, yeah, I guess that is like he, like as they're in that moment, as in that mode, like he would point out and define those feelings for them and help them to understand. Excuse me. Okay. Back through my notes to see. I liked how in the notes too that it said like resilience can be brought forth in any family. Like you have the skills. Like any family can get through their issues to build up strength and resolve for overcoming their issues, and it doesn't have to be this magical thing, but like how he led them inch by inch to understand. And I was excited for them to go on to the next meeting. Ooh, let's find out how they did with their family meeting on Sunday, and the mom and dad's date, and the brother and sister getting together. I thought, ooh, this is neat.
It's a reality TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do we love
episode 2? I had another thing that I saw from my notes as you were talking about like how he helped them understand each other. There was a section in the reading that talked about like crediting their positive intentions. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was he just did a really good job with that, of helping everyone understand like the mom's positive intentions. Even though she's freaking out and going crazy, all of her intentions were out of love and concern for her son, whereas the son just thinks she's being this crazy lady. And his intentions of shutting down and going away was his cry for help. And so he was like, your intentions are all there, your actions aren't showing those intentions, but he was trying to help them see that like their intentions in reaching out were valid, but that they just weren't coming across the right way. And so I thought that was really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was neat. So did you guys get a feel of like who contacted the therapist or how they came to be in that session? At first,
I feel like the mom did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was the one that. I mean, I guess it was the daughter though that pointed out, like when he was like, "Why are you all here?" And she's like, "Because Jimmy." He's not around. He's problem behavior. But yeah, he pointed out that the mom and the sister were willing to talk, and but it was neat to see the evolution of even in just those 45 minutes of Jimmy and the dad, like kind of opening up and coming out of their shell and having their feelings drawn out.
Yeah, which one thing that he did that it's under drawing out, or let's see. I can't remember where it was, but I mean, he helped build empathetic connections with and between the family members. But I'm not finding it right here. But one thing that he did was kind of help what did you like to do in the past? Like, I remember reading that sometimes you can work on, like, go back and remember what worked and kind of start over. I know I wrote it down somewhere, but now I'm not finding it.
The one on page 17 that talks about like drawing out the hidden resources and like lost competence.
Yeah, maybe I just thought about it and didn't read it down because I saw that bold part that I have.
Yeah, there's a section that says, like, for instance, asking spouses about their ways of finding pleasure together before their troubles arose can help rekindle lost intimacy and stuff. Like,
okay.
So when he was suggesting they go on a date and like rekindle that feeling.
Yeah. Okay. There. Yeah.
I liked how he helped the father and son to realize that they actually had a connection between each other, that they have a similar way of expressing their emotions or not expressing them by shutting down. And he just really helped them to see that they could be support for each other. And at the end, they set up their father and son date of going to the skate park. And he encouraged the father to really be a mentor to him and help him know, how do you plan for a future career and what do you do at this point in your life? And I think he just really helped the son to see that he doesn't need to feel lost, that he has a resource, that he can use his father, and that his father is very similar to him and has knowledge that he can share with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was how they interesting how they touched on the dad's history of how his parents interacted with him. Like they just kind of let him, like they weren't super involved in his life, and apparently weren't very involved in the grandkids' life. And he's like, yeah, that they just kind of left me alone and didn't. And so that seemed to be a little bit of a root of how he dealt with his issues. And also something else that came to mind, excuse me, was the having the specific goals and follow up. Like, okay, we had the dad ask the mom on a date, and okay, you're going on a date. Okay, when? Okay, where? Are you going? Like to be specific in the goals, and not just like, oh, let's get together sometime and talk about it. Okay, it was a specific, measurable thing, goal.
Making
a smart goal.
concrete.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. What else are we supposed to talk about? I don't know. Any other surprises or interesting findings in our discussion that you hadn't thought about before, considered when you were doing the assignment?
One thing that was in the reading that you kind of touched on earlier was just how counseling with someone as a family can be kind of a preventative measure, and it doesn't have to come, when there is a crisis. And so I think that's very important to consider, is just that that a therapist could help families learn these skills so they don't have to get to that point of crisis, but they can really prevent a lot of these things from happening. It doesn't mean they would prevent everything, but they would have skills to cope with those crises when they do come.
Yeah.
I definitely. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I definitely agree with that. I feel like this family actually tried to kind of maybe nip it in the bud. Like they were definitely kind of in route of being in a crisis, but like, and their son is probably in the direction of going to kind of down a bad direction. Like he's hanging out with friends who drink and do drugs, but they didn't want to wait for that to be the outcome before they tried to get help. And so I thought that was actually really impressive of the family to seek out help before it was like a very apparent problem. They were just worried. They know that their family was having a stressful situation and they didn't know how to cope with it on their own. So they sought out help, which I thought was cool because a lot of families wouldn't do that because of the negative connotation with going to a family therapist. So
yeah, I like that. I agree with that. I think they were getting there, but they definitely weren't in full blown. It's like he brought up, the alarms were going off, and they listened to those alarms and acted on those alarms. And I think that helped them pay attention too. When we're feeling these things, then we need to kind of go through the process of what he did with them. When those little alarms are going off, okay, figure out what's really going on. What are we really concerned about? What are we feeling? But I thought that was interesting that he used the word alarms quite a few times. That was kind of cool to me. So like little.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
It reminds me of what we read in the readings this week about, as a family therapist, you need to be careful not to focus on the symptoms and to find the underlying issues, like what's really going on underneath.
Yes.
Yeah, contextualizing and like it's not a bad person, like bad behavior, like separating them from their behavior. Yeah, that's neat. I forgot something else came to mind. Yeah, I liked what what you talked about, Becca and Brittany, about how the family didn't wait until it was over. I was like, as I was watching, I was like, oh well, he's not on drugs. Like why, why are they hit there? But they went before it was a huge, major, full blown problem, and so still capable of doing a lot of good. Okay, the last thing on here says discuss and record how a treatment professional or paraprofessional might prepare to capitalize on such opportunity to introduce or reinforce the types of resiliency factors from Walsh's article. Okay.
Discuss.
I'm not sure what that asks.
Sorry, what did you say?
I think it's almost just like how would a therapist use these, like help use these, get it out to more people almost? I don't know. Capitalize is kind of a weird word because then I think money slightly.
How do you make the most out of the pattern that he has set up?
And it talked about that though at the end, like how the bummer too, my whole thing is like I've done lots of therapy throughout my life and think it's amazing and wish everybody can do it. I've done a marriage counseling for a year. I've done personal therapy. And I don't know. So like when I saw, I'm like, this is awesome. I wish every family can go. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, like, that's pretty amazing. And when we did marriage counseling about 8 years ago for like a year. And, you know, our marriage therapist, you know, she just like, we worked on ourselves because you can only change yourselves and stuff. And it was just like awesome. You know, at the end too, you know, she trained us to be our own counselors. And that's what he was doing. If you saw that, he was teaching them the process. But however, that's great. But a lot of times she even said, but you may need to come back and you just need an outside person. And I mean, you just saw like how good he did too at like dealing about hard stuff, but keeping it flowing and not, like keeping it not personal, even though the whole thing was personal. Mm-hmm. And the bummer though is like, and I'm thinking, man, therapy is awesome. I wish everybody can go. Every family can relate. Like I've actually talked to my bishop a lot and he's like, Brittany, how do I get people to go? He's like, I know there are so many people. And he said, there are so many people who need therapy. And he goes, now he has had, you know, confidentiality. And he's like, he goes, I know I have some people who I'm like, if only these people knew they did it. So if I can get them to call him and say, hey, this is awesome, they would go. And so I know there's this negative stigma, but I am like, why? It is so awesome. But if you see that video too, I feel like if people could watch that video, that would help get rid of it. Partly because that therapist did such a good job of staying on top of it. I mean, like making it fun, kind of, you know, it wasn't sad. There was no, like he was so upbeat. But the problem too is it costs a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And none of it is pretty much covered. And it talked about that unless they give them a clinical diagnosis of some kind, therapy is not covered. And so, but I feel like, I don't know, like sharing, like if people could watch simulations like this and see how positive it is and like how they can just lead and guide you and like stuff like that. Like I took a lot of notes in there for just me to use as a mom and as a family. So even just stuff like that, I think they can capitalize that a little bit by having more online forums where you can watch videos. And I don't know, it was pretty eye-opening to me. And like I said, I've done therapy, so like watching someone else do it was pretty cool. Just so those are just
the reading touched on that a little bit too with the preventative measures. The author had said that that's much less expensive than actually having to go through therapy when you've had a crisis. And so I think maybe if therapists could set up a way to teach those principles to families, even just as large groups, maybe that would be less expensive for each individual than if they were meeting with a therapist on their own.
Yeah, I agree. So I actually work at a residential treatment center for teenage girls who are struggling with different things between like suicide and drug abuse. And kids who have gone down the complete deep end and do need the help. And they do family therapy once a week with their therapist. They Skype in their parents who live all over the country. And it is sad to see how long they waited to get help. Like, if only they had known about resources or like wanted to access them. Some girls are there on insurance, like they're finally getting, like, the insurance pays for them to be there. Wonder if that is the only reason they waited that long, is they're like, well, we can't afford therapy, and so we got to wait till someone else can pay for it. Oh, now it's paid for, so we can get her the help she needs. And so it is interesting to wonder how we could get the help out there more, and like just help people see that there is ways to help these problems before they become awful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
I think sometimes though, like a lot of people's jobs, like they have like it's called EAP or something like that. And they don't know that they have those types of resources,
Mhm.
and it's like
mhm.
employees assisting or something. It's EAP is what they call it, and they give it to them, and I've worked several different jobs that have had that. And what it does is it allows you to go to see a counselor. It allows you to go see, someone who is there to talk with you. And as long as they live in the household of a person who works there, everyone in that household is covered. And so, like when I was going through my divorce, that's when, of course, it sparked me to look at it. But they pay, like you can go even when before your crisis hits. So I wish I'd have known that. But you can also they pay. You can go during work, and if they can't penalize you for that. And it's just like a lot of people just don't know that they have that resource at work. So even like people who work in HR, they should make sure that their employees know that they have that benefit, that's available to them, because a lot of people, if you're at work and you're going through something like that, that could even talking to someone would even help from that, and that would cut down on time from people being off of work and things like that. If they're going through things with, you're going through something at home, you're not all the way there at work. So I mean, it's just people, and wish that in my situation too. Like I just wish that that was something that we knew about. Um, so it's a benefit that a lot of jobs have, but it's preventative, and they just don't know that they have it.
Mhm.
You brought up such a good point. If companies understood the benefits of getting their employees therapy, like you said, because when all that, like when we're going through crisis in our own lives, it does affect our work. And if
Mhm.
companies could, that's a way to get it paid for or covered that could really benefit a company, that would make it, they may actually get their money out of doing it. Because I think that's the biggest cost. I mean, the biggest reason. Because I feel like it might have a negative stigma too, but I think it's come a ways from that. But it is just really expensive.
It's
And
expensive. It's a lot. And they only pay for so many sessions, but like
yeah,
your job a lot of times will pay for it, but they don't advertise it. They don't let people know that
yeah,
that resource is available to them.
that's cool. But
How fortunate we are in the church to have so many resources available to
yeah,
us, knowledge about
Yeah.
the power of counseling. And for me, like as I've just been thinking, like how would I, like what would, I don't know, besides having my own personal problems and family life or whatever, like what would lead me to counseling? And for me, I think what's most powerful would be personal testimonials. Like if a friend came up and was like, hey, I did this, I met with this counselor, it was so great for our family, we did this, and it's just been wonderful. And like personal testimonials have more powerful effect for me individually,
well,
as
that's good.
for me.
Mhm.
So if I don't know if therapists could encourage, I don't know if that's something that they could even do with their moral code or what, but hearing personal experiences and testimonies from other people that have lived through it and experienced it and been better because of it would be very powerful. Because for me, just scrolling on YouTube and having this video pop up of this therapist talking to a family, I'd probably just keep scrolling my, like I'd never watch it if it wasn't my assignment for school.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like it opened my eyes and enlightened me, and I don't know, it would have been fortunate to have my own motivation to watch it rather than just having it as an assignment.
It seems like that was part of one of our reading assignments too, is that the therapist had encouraged people to reach out for opportunities to serve others and to share their story.
Yeah.
Well, I will bear testimony that I have been very blessed by therapy in my life and think it is amazing and wish so many other people could have it. But the key is to finding the right therapist, though, also. That's
Yes.
huge. One time, my husband and I went through it took our 4th try, and she was it. But so that's huge, and I think that's where a lot of negative comes from, because there are some out there that, I mean, there were some too where it harmed us so bad, and then we're like, okay, no, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going, and we found and it was amazing. So, but I also liked what Rebecca brought up, huge too, that I've got from the readings and everything, like the story about as family therapy, how powerful that is. And if you really believe in the systems theory, like the girl who was raped, how she had done her own private therapy. But it also just like brought out to me how important families are. And like, yes, we can work on ourselves individually, but eventually like we all need to be loved and accepted in that family unit. And just like, it just helped me realize with my kids too, that because I am a believer in therapy and stuff, but you can get help for yourself, but that family therapy is it took that to a whole nother level. Like you eventually have to bring the whole family together and help each other heal, which is a huge part of resilience, that's the number one thing that I've gotten learning about the family resiliency is that family support. Like you can kind of get through anything, but not everyone has that. But I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's been a lot that I've picked up on, like being close as a family, to have family resiliency through crisis. But then it has made me think, but there's so many people who don't have that, so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's unfortunate.
So,
all right.
Yeah, that part in the reading really got to me. That was pretty powerful. How she totally hit a roadblock, and then once the family all got involved, how they took it like so far to help so many other people. That was pretty cool to me.
Well, and something that I want to add to that is it's amazing also how a family can hinder your progression too if they're not involved. And so because with where I work, we have obviously, like I said, we do family therapy sessions along with their individual therapy sessions. And when you can tell that the families aren't supportive or helpful, it really slows down these girls' progress. Like we have I can't tell a whole lot, but like we have this one girl where her father doesn't actually approve of where she's at. And once these girls are 18, they can leave if they want to. We can't legally hold them there. Like even if their parents want them there, they're 18, they're an adult, they can leave if they want. And so a lot of them, though, if they're in a good place, will choose to sign themselves back in and to finish the program and to finish their healing process. And this one girl's dad was encouraging her to sign herself out. He's like, that is an awful place. You shouldn't be there. You don't need to be there. And it was really hard to see her on the phone with her dad crying, begging him to support her. And it's so sad when you don't have these families supporting them and how much that hinders them. And so it's so true that when you have a family involved, and especially in a supporting way, how much it can really help an individual thrive. So,
yeah. But like you said, there are so many who don't have that in today's world. And that's I don't know. I think sometimes we can take for granted family and stuff, but
yeah. Definitely. It's the more every day I see more and more value of the proclamation to the family and how important we are for each other, and how important it is to reach out to our friends and loved ones around us, share the gospel. All right. Is there anything else anybody would like to say It's 9:53. Any other points?
I have this. I've written like a page of bullet points here, or not like just kind of. I tried to just type as we were all talking while trying to pay attention, but I think I did okay. But I'm not sure exactly like. And I would say he for the therapist, but I don't know if I need to add like the therapist to everything because I felt like it was kind of talking like I felt like this was to help us learn how to become therapists or like I don't know. Is that what you guys got? Like, yeah, we could see how it worked, but I got a lot of it was like to take this and apply it. Here's an example of a therapist. Was he? So that's kind of what I took the notes on and did the assignment based on. So he is the therapist. Now, should I just like try to put it together a little bit and then, but if I emailed it to everybody, how would that work? I know there's like online things where we can all type and add it. Does anyone know how to do those?
Google Doc.
Yeah, Google Doc.
Does anyone know how to do that? Is that hard? I've done it in the past, like 2 years ago.
Just do what you feel comfortable with. Like if you want to just email us and if anybody has anything to add, like you can give us a time limit. Like if you want to say something, get back to me by tomorrow at 6 o'clock or whatever.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
I'll try to Google Docs. And again, I think it's pretty simple, but I'll try that. And if not, I'll just email it to all of you and then I'll submit it by tomorrow evening. I try to have everything wrapped up by Friday night to get Saturday with my kids. But and then I'll submit it. So if I can't do the Google Doc, now for the Google Doc, I need everyone's email, though?
Yeah, so you already have them all from our group email, right? From the Gmail.
I think, yeah, I have that. So everyone's email on there. So
as long as they're a Gmail, it has to be a Gmail account or else it won't work on Google Docs. But as long as everyone has a Gmail, we're good.
Okay, awesome. So I'll do that, and then I think that'll be simple. So I'll go through it and kind of try to make it a little bit more summary based, not just. But I'm sure I missed stuff, so feel free to.
I'm sure it'll be great. Thank you so much for being willing to do that. We appreciate it. And thank you everybody for your input and great discussion. It was great to meet with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great Thanksgiving and a great rest of your week.
Yes. Yes.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, oh wait, do I need to get the recording to put on? How does that work?
Yeah, I think the link should be the same for like once I upload it to YouTube, but I'll just respond on the group email what the link is for this.
Okay, awesome. So I'll wait for the link from you to copy and paste.
Okay.
To the summary, and then so everyone just make sure I double check that I put that link on the summary.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.